Hi. I've been lying in bed and I've been trying to sleep and it hasn't been working, and I've been reflecting a lot, which I tend to do. I tend to get pretty, contemplative and reflective when I can't sleep. Always, really, but when I can't sleep especially. And I started reflecting on my life so far and what's been going on and how's it been and stuff. And then I started thinking about my kind of early teenagehood, and I'm about to turn 20 very soon, which is I don't know, I guess it's fine, it's pretty strange. I kind of feel like when I'm, of any kind of actual age, like, even into my 40s remotely, I will just be freaking out, like I'm going to have the biggest midlife crisis, I can already tell, because I'm, quite a small percentage into my life and I'm already freaking out about the loss of my childhood or the loss of my youth or whatever. And it's not that I haven't enjoyed it or that I felt like I've wasted it, like, it was great, but like I'm transitioning now into into a new period of my life. I've just had 2 children, as I talked about in my last video. I wasn't joking, it wasn't a trick. I really have had 2 children, Addie and Dexter, 2 beautiful twins, and they're the best. They're just over 10 weeks old now, and they're adorable, and I'm living with Zoe in this house. Oh, that's the garage, in this house. And we're raising them, and it's going really well. It's surprisingly easy. Like, not really easy, but easier than, easier than people made it out to be, definitely. And I think it was probably just because they didn't want me to kind of underestimate how difficult it will be when we were making the decision whether we wanted to have the children or not have the children. And neither of us were sort of interested in the idea of abortion, or that didn't appeal to us at all. And adoption, I'm obviously, adoption is fantastic, and the fact that people can go out and get children if they're unable to have one biologically or for whatever reason is great. I'm all for it, but like, just the idea, I don't think I could have a child and then give it up. That just wouldn't work for me. The idea that knowing you had like a son or a daughter somewhere in the world and you had nothing to do with them would just be, it's the worst. I couldn't do that. But so we've had these babies and we're living in this house together, which is really nice. And we are going to have been together for a year very soon, which is nuts considering we have 2 children together, obviously, even though we dated for a while the year before as well. This is a year completely together now, and it's going great. It's really fantastic, so that's nice. Deviated from my story a little bit there, just giving you a kind of an insight into what's going on in my life at the moment. So I got very reflective, and I was thinking about YouTube and my time on YouTube and what it meant to me, because it was a really big part of my life for a while. You think about sort of ages 14 through, 16 or so, which are 2 prime years for development when you're a teenager. A lot's changing then. And it was a really, really big deal for me, like all of the people that I was meeting and the stuff that I was doing and everything. It was massive for me for a long time. And so I got thinking about that, and I thought I would just make this video quickly now to kind of reflect on why I started making YouTube videos and the many different forms that took. And so that's what I'm doing now. I first heard about YouTube, this is going way back, this is origin stories here. I first heard about YouTube when, I think it was the first year it came out, and my friend Marcus came to me one day, I was at my house, and I remember him saying to me, there's this place, and you can go on, it's a website, and you can go on, and you can just watch anything for free. Like, you can just watch music videos, or you can watch, they have TV shows on there, you can just watch anything. And I remember thinking at the time, like, no, that's some sort of trick, that's a con, that can't really exist. But it does, and I didn't really care about it at first. Like, I watched a few videos on there. I've never liked music videos, so there wasn't much, like, appeal for me there with them. And then I kind of just forgot about it for a while, and then a few years later, maybe, when would it have been? 2006, 2007, I think probably 2007, I started watching this guy called 019, and he was a games player, one of these people who goes on YouTube and makes videos of them playing video games and like talking about them and having the kind of their commentary and stuff go over the top. This guy 019, I really liked him. He was pretty cool, and I watched his Dead Rising videos, and they were quite good. And he had videos of him playing lots of different video games, and he had, I don't know, at the time I thought he was like this crazy massive celebrity, you know, like he was this rock star of the YouTube world. And I idolized him a little bit, and his kind of deal was that you never saw his face. That was his hook. And people spent a lot of time in the comments speculating on what his face might look like. I got very involved in that gossip. And so I decided after watching him for a long time that maybe I was going to start trying at this YouTube thing. So I made my YouTube account, and I started on the Joe from 1993, whenever I created the account, 2007 or something, it says on the side of my channel. It was very, very first off, it was me playing through Halo 3, mind you, it had just come out, I think, quite recently, and I was playing through Halo 3, and offering kind of some zany quips, you know, some jokes, keeping it fresh, and but it wasn't very good, and some people watched it. They didn't like me much, because I was really young at this point, obviously, had a ridiculous voice, and it wasn't very interesting at all, so I deleted those after a while, and then left my account for ages. Then in 2000 and, when would it have been? 2008, I started again because I somehow I came across the videos of Charlie Is So Cool Like on YouTube. And I thought he was cool, like I liked his videos, he was pretty funny, I liked what he had going on. I started watching him fairly early on in his whole development, like he had gotten featured with the... Sorry, my camera turned off for a second. He had gotten featured with the how to be English or how to make tea. I think it might have been how to make tea or something at that point. And so he was like already a pretty big deal. Not anything like he would become, obviously, or anything like he is now. I assume he's still doing stuff. He'd have to still be doing stuff because he'd be making so much money. But yeah, so I started watching him, and I didn't realize that he was popular at all. Like, somehow I didn't look at his subscriber count, or I didn't look at his video views or anything. I just thought he was just like some guy. So I sent him a message, and I was like, hey man, you know, I like what you got going on, I like your videos, they're pretty cool, and I talked about one of the videos of his that I liked or something, and I was like, you know, we should chat sometime. Like, because I thought he was a cool guy. And then he didn't, respond or anything, obviously, because he wouldn't. Like, I got hundreds of messages exactly like that when I was making videos, and I never responded, which is mean, you know, like, I should have. It was a shit thing to do, because I wasn't even popular at all, like, by his standards or anything. I was never, ever a big deal in any way. I think at the time I kind of thought that I was, but I never was at all. And so obviously he didn't reply, and I was like, and then I sort of clued on to the fact that, well, like, look, he has, you know, thousands and thousands of subscribers, probably like 50,000 or something at that point. And so I thought, alright, that's fine, maybe I'll start making videos and I'll get some kind of popularity, and I'll get people who will sort of know who I am, and I'll talk to him and, like, you know, chat with him, and then eventually one day we'll meet up and hang out. And I don't know, I was like 14, and I thought that was just kind of like a plan that I could do. I was like, yeah, I'll just make some videos, get some people to watch them, then hang out with this guy who I think is cool. And so I started doing that, and I made a video, like my first video, and it's gone now because I deleted it a long time ago. But I deleted it, like, obviously I deleted everything, but at a certain point people started saving all of the videos that I was posting and re-uploading them. Alex and Joe Lost Vids is one of them. And so, but I deleted these videos, like the very first one I made, and then the first few, before whoever started doing this started saving the videos, so they're just gone forever. They're in the ethos. I think YouTube will have burned them or something by now. So the first video of mine that you can actually find somewhere if you look for it is Find John, the video where I rang people in the phone book until I found John. But there were a few before that, but they were equally as terrible. I had, I thought my signature, like my hook, was that in my videos there'd be like a news crawl, you know, like one of those things going along the bottom of the screen, that would, and it did, in my first few videos, have like a running commentary, like a director's commentary of the making of the video, and like, what, you know, and little jokes like, oh, look at this weirdo, and stuff like that going on. So that was pretty funny at the time, and then I realized quickly that it wasn't, and that the videos weren't good, so I deleted them, because I knew they were embarrassing. Obviously, they were all embarrassing now in retrospect, but at the time, for some reason, I knew that those ones were. So then I kept doing this for a while, and another thing I started doing was I started watching other YouTubers and then making videos in their style. So I called them the Joe from 1993 versus whoever. And I made a few, whenever I'd make them, I'd kind of like send them to the person I made them of, or like make them a video response to one of their videos or something. And, I'm sorry, it's very cold out here, that's why I'm shivering. I'm kind of like, you know, I'm sort of gyrating, but I'm not nervous or anything, I'm just cold. So, one of the first ones I made was versus Ben Loka, the really cool Hare Krishna comedian guy who was making videos a few years ago back then. And he responded to me, like I posted it to him, and he was like, this is funny, this is good, or something, and he responded to me. And I liked that. I was like, this is cool, because he was a guy that I'd been watching for a while, and I thought he was a funny dude. And so it was cool to get that kind of recognition from him. And then, this is probably the reason, other than my nipples, I'll get to that later, that I had any popularity on YouTube whatsoever, was that I found through Charlie his 5 Awesome Guys channel, and then I found through that, I found Johnny Durham 19, who is still a really close friend of mine, and I completely love him. He's one of the most fantastic people that I've ever met, genuinely. And of the 5 Awesome Guys, I was just really into Charlie's videos, obviously, and Johnny's videos. I thought that he was a really cool guy. And so I started watching his videos on his channel, and then I made a versus video of him. So it was me putting on this terrible British accent or something, with a lot of exposure. He always had a lot of exposure. Sorry, my camera cut off again. I promise I'm not editing this at all. And yeah, so I really liked his videos, and I made that versus video. And then he saw it. I guess I emailed it to him, maybe, or like messaged him about it, or posted a response somewhere. And he thought it was cool, and he was like, "Hey, I like this video. This is good." And then I guess I messaged him or something, or maybe he messaged me. And then we started talking, like, we got each other's MSNs and stuff, and we were talking on MSN. I'll just give you a hint, MSN was pretty hot shit in those days, like, that was the kind of the funnest jazz around, was chatting on MSN. It was kind of my deal. I always had MSN, it was like a big thing for me. And so I had that, and then he added me on it, and we started talking. I don't really know why he started talking to me, because in retrospect, again, the video I made definitely wasn't funny of him. I haven't seen it in like 5 years, but I assumed that it wasn't funny. And, but I don't know, I guess he liked me. And then we started talking, and we became really good friends instantly, because I don't really know why he liked me, but I liked him because he was great and super funny, and really, really friendly, and we got along so well. And then he kind of, like, I think he put that video up on his page for a while, like, and so a lot of people saw it, and I got a lot of subscribers from that. And then, which was great. And then I think at some point he put one of my videos or my channel or something in the sidebar for a 5 Awesome Guys video, which got me a few more subscribers, so that was good. And then also, at some point, I can't really remember how this happened, I think maybe I messaged him or commented on a lot of his videos or something, but What the Buck Show subscribed to me and, like, posted about me somewhere at some point, so that got me a lot of subscribers as well. And then it started building very quickly, like, I was getting quite a few new ones, and I was ramping up very quickly, and I was getting, you know, kind of like 1 or 2 or 3,000 or so in a very short space of time. And so that was good, that was fun. I liked the progression of that, and I liked that it was kind of getting somewhere. Then, at this time in my personal life, I was in a play, and it was a play by Mark Ravenhill, and it was called The Queen Must Die. No, it wasn't, I'm sorry, that's the play I did the year before. Whoops, embarrassing mistake. It was called Citizenship. And a very interesting thing is kind of happening with my life and that play that I was in, and I was the lead role. And the play was about this kid, this, like, kind of 14, 15-year-old kid, as I was, who sort of started to question his sexuality a bit, and sort of started to think, well, listen, am I interested in women or men? Maybe I'm a little bit gay. And then experimented with that for a while, and then got a girl pregnant and had children when he was like 18 or so. And so, I don't know if you know much about my life, but if you kind of look at that story of the play and draw a few comparisons to my real life, it's scary how closely I'm following in the footsteps of that character. So that's interesting. And then, while I was doing this play, I kind of started to think, as was my character in the play, it was all very meta. I started to think, well, listen, you know, what's to say I am not also interested in men? Like, why would I assume that I wasn't, you know? And then, so and at this point, really, the stars were all aligning at this point, because I had started to talk to Alex Donithorn, Alex the Owl, at this point, just kind of like I had met him and we started chatting on MSN or something at that point. And so, at the exact moment when I was thinking, hey, you know, maybe, what if I was interested in men, how would that go? And then I was talking to this, like, cool, young, sexy vegan skater boy who, like, was kind of badass and had a bit of attitude, and knew a lot about very good music, and knew a lot about very good movies and TV shows, something that I had no concept of at that point. I didn't know any good movies, TV shows. I listened to one band. I listened to Placebo. They were pretty good, but you know, that was kind of all I had going for me, pop culturally speaking. And he was like this like really cool, sexy guy who knew a lot about a lot of things I didn't have any idea about, but thought I would be interested in, and was kind of aloof and a little bit, I don't know, aggressive and kind of cynical. And it was just, it worked, you know, like, I thought maybe I'm interested in men, and there was this cool boy who I was with, and talking to a lot, and I thought, I guess this is the guy. And then I don't know, we became closer friends and we started talking more and hanging out more often and stuff, and I guess I don't really know how he came to realise that I was interested in him, or how he became interested in me, but somehow it happened, and so then we kind of started talking more about, well, if we were to kind of, date or something, how would that go, or how would we, what would we do with the fact that we were interested in each other romantically? And at the time I had a a quote-unquote physical relationship with my ex-girlfriend, Brittany Slate. And I think we liked to imagine that this was some sort of torrid, kind of torrid, is that how you say it? Affairish type situation, even though we were both single, sort of like a friends with benefits, love power kind of thing going on. But really, it was just that sometimes we'd meet up, awkwardly kiss for a while, I didn't know how to undo a bra, and that was pretty much it. And so Alex was like, well, listen, if you sort of end or break off or whatever it is, this kind of physical relationship you have with this girl, maybe something can happen, maybe we can sort of work out a deal. And I was 14, and I was immensely excited by this. I was like, yes. And I broke off the whatever it was with Brittany Slate, and then we sort of, there was no actual contact or no even, I think, explicit conversations about the fact that we were interested in each other now and there were no obstacles in the way, but it sort of just had happened like that. And I remember the first time we kissed, we were in this concrete tube, like a school playground. It was the Sumner School playground in Christchurch, and we had been to a gig, or we had seen a band or something in Sumner, and then it was quite late at night, and we were wandering around, and we went to this playground at Sumner School, which is gone now, and I was really sad about that. I went to go see it a couple of months ago, and it's gone, and it's been replaced by a big ugly building. But I had lots and lots of really good memories, because that year, when I was hanging out with all of those Sumner kids, it was like I was actually, for the first time, kind of involved in teenage friendships, not child friendships, I was meeting these new people, and they were kind of living these exciting, interesting teenage lives, and I was actually kind of getting involved in that socially, for once, and it was kind of at a point where my anxiety and the sort of issues that I had going on in my childhood were subsiding a little bit, and I was finally getting to the point socially where I could kind of talk to people a lot and go and stay at people's houses and stuff, which I had a lot of trouble with in my childhood. So that was good, and then we were there at the playground lying in these concrete tunnels, and I decided to take the initiative after a long silence, and I kissed him, and he was kind of like, nah, man, nah, I don't want to kiss, I don't want to do that, and I was like, oh, that's okay, and I guess, I don't know, it didn't feel awkward, or I didn't feel kind of upset by it at all at the time. I don't think. I was just kind of like, okay, that's not what he wants to do right now, that's fine. But then we kind of started talking more seriously about the idea of, alright, well, maybe we're a couple, maybe we're going to be together. And I think that's the point at which we decided, maybe slightly forcefully on my part, because I always, throughout the entire relationship, and this is the only time it's happened, I was much more interested in him than he was in me. I've always been... Sorry, the camera thing again. I've always been, in John Green's terms, kind of forever a dumper rather than a dumpy. I don't know why that is. I don't really think of myself as that kind of person, but that's just always how it ended up with all of my relationships. And so this was the first time that I had been the one who was more interested. I was the one who was kind of actually actively pursuing and kind of dismayed by the fact that he didn't seem that interested in me. So that was a strife that I had at that time. And then at some point we kind of started being like, alright, we're dating. And I don't know if he was kind of eager to tell people or if it was kind of on the DL for a while, but we were together, we were a thing. And nothing really happened with us for a long time. I just hung out at his house a lot. And at this point, he knew I was making YouTube videos, and he had started making videos as well, because I made a video called Instant Hater or something, and basically the premise was I didn't have any haters, like nobody really disliked me on YouTube, because nobody really knew who I was, like I wasn't big enough to warrant anybody hating me. But I thought it would be quite cool to have some haters, and I was disappointed that I didn't have any. So I asked the people who subscribed to me and the people that, you know, were following my videos regularly to make video responses of them hating me and saying mean things and stuff. And this is when Alex, who was always... Let me fucking tell you something about Alex Donnythorne. He is always and forever will be cooler than everybody else on the planet. And everybody knows that. Everybody who knows him knows that he's just somehow years ahead of what everybody is interested in, what everybody is doing, what everybody will be acting like, everybody's ethos. He's just ethotically improved. And so he made he had the idea to make a series of videos in which he hated me publicly, and to hide the fact that we knew each other in real life or had any sort of connection. And just become as aggressive as possible, really. And so he did this, and all of the people who watched my videos, who at this point were mostly girls, and I guess some young boys, the old men had not gotten interested in me yet, but I'll talk about that later. So he had this idea, and everybody started defending me very, very vigorously and passionately. And he thought that this was great, and he thought that this was very, very funny. And so then we had our first real kiss. I remember we were back at Sumner School. An interesting thing about us is we actually never kissed anywhere other than Sumner School. We kissed 3 times in our entire relationship, and they were all there in sort of in like a 20-meter radius. And we were there, and I guess, I don't know, he had talked about being shy a lot, and I'm not sure if he actually was shy or was just kind of under the gaze of shy because actually he wasn't very interested in me romantically. This is speculation, obviously, but that's just kind of how I assumed it to be. And so then I remember we made out there, and for the first time, and that was great. I was like, woohoo at the time. I was really, really jamming on it, because I had basically been increasingly falling in love with him, legit in love for the first time, and so that was kind of a big interesting thing for me at the time. And then we made the Hunting for Gays video after the whole thing had kind of been going for a long time, and he had been making increasingly more videos, and he got very popular very quickly. He was on kind of like the top of the most subscribed today and this week and stuff lists for New Zealand, because all of the people that subscribed to me suddenly flocked over to him and kind of had to see what he was doing, what he was talking about. And he thought that was really funny. He thought that was cool. And then, after we kind of decided that it had gone on for long enough, we made the Hunting for Gays video, which was really the start of whatever it was that I had on YouTube. It was the start of it actually happening, you know, like, everybody saw that video, and it was massive, you know. It got like a lot. I think it had like and obviously massive in my terms is still very small, because again, I was not a big deal, but for me and for like the kind of group that I was in on YouTube, it was a very big deal. It got kind of like 100,000 views or something, and the reason was because it got posted on, and this was sort of my downfall in a way initially, but also the reason I kind of had any sort of infamy, I suppose, whatsoever. It got posted on this website, Milk Boys, which was a blog for, I guess, you know, it might be slightly unfair to say pedophiles, but essentially pedophiles and some kind of younger gay guys. And it was like, hey, look at these 14-year-old boys making out. Who doesn't love that? Everybody loves that. And then, you know, a lot of people started caring. Like, a lot of people started messaging me. I was getting hundreds and hundreds of messages, you know, kind of like every week, and I was getting lots of stuff sent to me. I've got a box still here somewhere of things. People were sending things to my school and sending things to my house, and I was getting, you know, lots of mail, lots of books, like self-help books and stuff, which is kind of insulting. But a lot, you know, people were sending a lot of things, and I was getting a lot of messages. And I was kind of like, I was drunk on it for a while, you know. It was like, it was very exciting, and obviously it's not something that normally you kind of go through at 14. Clearly it's a incalculably watered down version of things that anybody with any fame whatsoever experiences. But for me, as a 14 or 15-year-old or whatever at the time, it was intoxicating, you know. It was like that little bit of joy you get when you get a follower on Tumblr, but you know, there were like 10,000 of them, and they were much more vocal, and I could see them, and it was tangible. And so that was great. And then eventually Alex broke up with me, obviously, because why wouldn't he? Like, he was never that involved, I don't think. And I wasn't that upset at the time, you know. I was kind of like, well, yeah, that's fine, I guess, whatever. It's sort of just how it goes. And it's the only time I've ever been broken up with. And it sucked, I guess. But it didn't seem to mind very much at the time. And then I went on, and I was still making videos, and I still had a lot of popularity and stuff. And I had, from that point on, like, even though that was sort of the really fun parts, like, that was reading through all of the messages Alex got, the hate mail and all of that, that was like the golden years, you know, is what they say. It was like, it was the really, really good times for me. It was lots of fun at that point. And then I went on to meet a lot of other really cool people, you know. I met lots and lots of really, really good friends through YouTube that I still talk to a lot. Like Johnny Durham, who I mentioned earlier, obviously, and my friend Brett, who lives in LA, who I stayed with while I was there a couple of years ago. And he's easily one of the best people that I've met so far in life, you know. He's just one cool motherfucker. And I really am so grateful for the fact that I'll have him as a friend, you know, kind of indefinitely, forever probably, until he dies when he's like 28 or something, from some sort of crazy like rock star LA death. And lots of other really cool people. I met my friend Simon, who lives in Wellington, who I see every time that I go up there, who I don't think he likes me very much, but just because he doesn't like anything very much is why I say that. And he's an immensely cool guy. He's such a trendy little dude, and I've always been kind of envious of his, I don't know, I guess his aloofness, or the fact that he doesn't care about anything, because I kind of love everything. Like, I like every movie that I see, and I sort of like all of the music, and I'm really enthusiastic about a lot of stuff. But he's really, in juxtaposition, he's kind of really pleasantly abrasive, and pleasantly, I don't know, negative, which is refreshing when you spend a lot of time inside my mind enjoying everything. So he's a really cool guy. Also, Bill, who I met fairly late on in the whole YouTube thing, but who is still a really close friend of mine, and who I really want to meet someday. Bill, this is Bill Elder, Bill TV Macon or Macon TV, or Bill Macon or Macon Georgia, or whatever his YouTube is. And he's a really, really cool guy as well. And he's such a genuinely great dude, you know, like, and I think he probably, I don't know if this is actually true, it's sort of an assumption, but I think he probably gets some flack on YouTube for being, you know, an older guy who's in his 50s and is making these videos and is interacting with a lot of young kids. I think he probably gets flack for that, or at least I assume that some parents, some overly conservative parents, or some kind of nervous people. There are a lot of nervous people around the internet, mostly the people who don't use it very much and don't realize that it's actually not scary. At least you're on the deep web, don't even go near that shit. It's fascinating. But I think probably some aspersions are cast entirely unfairly on Bill's, you know, validity or I don't know, objectives, making these YouTube videos and talking to these people. But obviously, anybody who knows him, anybody who watches his videos or has any interaction with him, knows that he's just a genuinely great guy who wants to interact with people and just get to know other people who are passionate about the same things that he is. And so I can't say enough good things about him. He's a really fantastic guy. And I met a few other people when I was making YouTube videos who at the time I was kind of friends with and I spoke to quite a lot. And, you know, we were close for a while, but now I realise sort of aren't that great, you know, as people even. Like, I used to be really close with Tom Milsom, Hexacaudal, and we used to Skype all the time, and we had a lot of communication, you know. And then I went and I met him when I was in England at a gathering that they had up there. And I don't know, he's just sort of like a bit weird and skeezy, and I was kind of like this 14 or 15-year-old kid or something who went up there, and he was like this 20-year-old, and he was kind of like very, very flirtatious with me and sort of made out with me a lot and was kind of very sort of about the whole thing. And then I talked to him for a while after that, and he just became so into Tom Milsom, like, and obviously, you know, I'm completely a fan of Pride. I think that when people have pride in what they do or admiration for their own work, if they're an artist or a musician, I think that's great. But he's really into himself, you know. He really loves what he does, and he's very convinced that he's immensely talented, and that I think sometimes his ego gets blown out of proportion. And I'm not sure if he watches my videos anymore, or if he has any, like, because I haven't spoken to him in years. I don't know if he is subscribed to me or anything still, or makes videos. But if you're watching, Tom, I guess, like, you know, we were friends and we had a really good relationship, and then your vanity kind of ruined that for me. So I don't know, I don't mean to be harsh or overly criticizing or anything, but I just kind of want you to know that that's why I don't really talk to you much anymore. We don't have anything to do with each other. So I'm sorry about that. And then it sort of started to wind down, I guess. I was getting an increasingly large older man demographic, and I, in accordance, was making increasingly provocative and stupid videos, you know, like it stopped being kind of about what I had to say or the jokes or whatever, and it was more sort of about exposing my nipples as much as possible, or finding more boys to make out with or something on film. And then eventually I kind of decided that all of the people that I had on there, you know, the lots and lots of old guys, were ruining it in some way, because it stopped being about me and making these videos because I enjoyed them, and then people enjoying watching them because they liked what I had to say, and became about something gross and something that I wasn't kind of very into. So I deleted my account and made several new ones over the course of kind of a year or so, lots and lots of big sort of embarrassing blunders, and, like, you know, channels with sort of 3 videos on them or whatever. There was like Global Side Channel, I was on 5 Awesome Gamers, 5 Awesome Kiwis, this guy who was 18, you know, lots, Joe Discourse, lots and lots and lots of little channels. Monkey King Joe, that was another one. I had heaps, and none of them were good, nobody cared, and I didn't care either. And then I just stopped for a very, very long time, and then had a couple more. I don't stop for some reason, considering that I'm making this video now. Apparently I still haven't stopped. A few kind of more attempts at it. I started up the Joe from 1993 again, and made a kind of a series of new kind of 16-year-old me edited, you know, more like using Final Cut Pro more and stuff. Zippy kind of pizzazz, hey, look at me sort of videos. And I guess people watch them, but then I got bored of it again and deleted them, and it was over. And then it started again when I started posting music on there, when I got more involved in kind of like the musical stuff that I was doing in noise music, and started posting a few of them on there. And then I posted some live videos when I was playing around Christchurch Live quite a bit. I posted a few of those on, and Then I kind of made a couple more videos with Ashley, who he's doing quite well now in life. He's got a job today. Actually, he got a new job at a cafe, a really nice garden cafe called Browsers in Riccarton. So you can go see him there. You can get coffee off him. And he's got a new house which he's living in. I've lived with him, for many, many years, and this is living in this house now with Zoe is the first time that I haven't lived with him in a long time, and I really miss him. Every day I miss him, but I see him a lot still, so that's fine, but still, I miss him all the time, because I wanted, I had 24/7 access to that brain, and you've seen that brain all the time, and then I lost the access, and so I missed that, but I don't know, maybe I'll see him tomorrow. And then after I made those videos with him, I made that one with him and Zoe in Wellington. We had to move back from Wellington, by the way. I live in Christchurch again now, back in the ruins of this stupid place that's ridiculous. And it was just kind of like we didn't have any family or anything other than Tom, and I don't know, what's his thing? I don't know, his YouTube channel, Frivolitom, yeah, that's it. And like both of our families are here and everything, and she was getting very pregnant, very angry, and so we just it made sense for her especially to come back down to Christchurch, and I don't regret it, because it's been really good being with my family, and it's great having the babies here in this environment where everybody is really supportive and really caring. But I do miss Wellington. I went up there recently to see Godspeed You Black Emperor, which was great, and I really miss the city. It was very, very cool living up there. I really miss it. But yeah, that sort of brings me to now, making this video. I just, I don't know, I suppose I couldn't sleep, and then I just started kind of thinking about what I would talk about if I were to reflect on my YouTube thing. And this was it, it's done. And I don't know what relationship I'll have with YouTube in the future. I couldn't go back to doing it all the time because nobody would care, for one thing. And to get successful at YouTube at all, you need to be very socially involved, There's nobody out there really who's just making videos, not talking to anyone else in the community, not interacting with anyone, and still getting, people caring. That's why Tom's videos were never popular. They're great. They're infinitely better than anything almost anybody is doing on YouTube. But because he doesn't talk to anyone on there, nobody hears about him. And I don't have time for that now, like I'm going back studying full-time. I'm doing a degree. I'm at college doing a degree in computers, which is cool. I like them. They're interesting. And I've got these babies and Zoe, and I just don't have time to be interacting with the community socially in the way that I would need to actually, get any popularity. But yeah, that's everything so far. So I look forward to seeing you sometime in the future.